Listen, let's touch on Spurs and Villa because they have impressed this season in terms of where we thought they were going to be. I think Aston Villa under Unai Emery have been phenomenal, to be fair, and it actually puts some of the Arsenal fans in the mud a bit for who was slagging off Emery. He can't talk. Get rid of him. He's terrible. No one understands him and all this. Which, to be fair, I'd had enough by the end of it, but I really did feel like there was problems at the top that weren't supporting him. Like Arteta is getting back now, right? So that's Emery. If you look at the form table of Villa, they're like second or third in the form table since he joined. It's just incredible what he's done there, right? And then we've got Postecoglou, which I'll come on to. I'll come on to next. Talk to me about Villa because Villa were favourites for the Europa Conference League. I think they're probably looking like they'll be disappointed if they don't walk away with Champions League football this season. If there are 5 places, which we believe there is going to be, that would be an incredible season, a trophy in Champions League football, right?
Of course, for Aston Villa, 100%. Now, I think Villa are going to fall off. I don't think they're going to finish in the Champions League because we've seen this before. You watch the Premier League growing up. We've seen it 100 times, man, with Leicester, with so many different clubs, West Ham. We've even seen it with Everton a couple of times. We're like, oh, Everton have had a really amazing start to the season. Can they carry it on? And blah, blah, blah. And it's just like, I think Aston Villa will fall off before the end of the year. They probably maybe finish 5th, actually. So dependent on like maybe if Liverpool win the Europa League or the English teams do well in the Champions League, obviously Newcastle and actually not Newcastle to be fair because they at least beat PSG, but obviously Manchester United embarrassed the coefficient when it comes to the English game, to the English league. So I think that might affect it negatively, but definitely look, a Conference League and a top 4 finish or even a 5th place finish would be a fantastic season for Villa. Now, I still think Unai Emery is not a manager that I think could manage a big club because when I look at managers, I think certain managers are made for certain football clubs. Like I've given this example. If I become a billionaire and I buy Brentford, the perfect manager would be Unai Emery to take me to the next level. But if I become a billionaire and I buy Liverpool, Arsenal, City, Chelsea, whoever, I wouldn't employ Emery. I just wouldn't because the 2 big clubs he's managed at, he's failed. Like it's just. People like to always do revisionist history. I don't. At Arsenal, he failed. That end of the year, he had the easiest run for a top 4 finish. And even me watching football that season, I was like, definitely like Arsenal gonna finish in the top 4, and you ended up not finishing there. And the Europa League final against Chelsea, that in itself, who was manager? Unai Emery. When he was the PSG manager, he had a 4-0 lead against Barcelona, and he actually
that was crazy.
Yeah, the worst bottle job in Champions League history with PSG, like at the time as well. So, yeah, I think Unai Emery revisionism, I don't like it. I think he's a mid-table manager. He's a perfect manager for the club he's at right now. I think he could make the step up. But for Aston Villa's level, 100%. Getting 5th place or 4th place and winning a Conference League is a successful season to them. Now, when it comes to Ange, I think Ange is extremely cringe. I think he's the most cringiest manager in the whole. He's so cringy. He's so cringe and he plays up to the media. This is probably my 2nd or 3rd time here, so I don't want to say wild shit, but I just can't stand the
you
guy.
do it, man. I don't care, man.
Listen, he's just such a insert, word for the media. Just such a biggest kiss ass I've ever seen. So cringy. Honestly, Ange Postecoglou is cringe, and I think Ange Postecoglou is why Spurs are in this position in a good way and in a negative way, because I hate managers who can't twist their principles a little bit. Now, I'm not saying abandon your principles. Now, as an example, you're not looking at someone like, okay, let me put it in a perfect way. When we had no center backs, the COVID year, 2020, 2021, all the center backs got injured. Klopp didn't abandon the way he played football, but Klopp just told Reece Williams and Nat Phillips, just sit back 10 yards, just go back a little bit. And I think with Spurs, one of the main reasons of their as well little bit of a downfall that they've had compared to what they're doing at the start of the season is actually Ange. So he's the good and the bad to the Spurs side. And I think first season tax, I mean, you guys have spoken about this as Arsenal fans, like Saka last season playing right wing, he kind of took the league by storm, surprised everyone. Now, 2nd season in, he's getting double marked and triple marked, and he has to figure out ways. I think that's going to be the interesting challenge for Postecoglou, which is like, are you going to Now, when more and more people respect Spurs, are you gonna essentially like figure out how to deal with their plan B to your plan A? So yeah, I think there's still questions to be asked. And by the way, people act like Postecoglou is a young manager, bro. He's been managing since before I was born. Before I was born, and I'm 28. Like he's been managing for a long ass time. Like he isn't no Arteta. He isn't no young manager. He's not no Xabi Alonso. He's been managing for a long time. So yeah, that's what I'd say on Spurs. And Spurs ain't winning anything this season, by the way. They're gonna beat City in the FA Cup, and then they're gonna lose to us.
Listen, I don't even know that they'll beat Man City, if I'm honest with you, bro. But we'll see. They can't seem to score at their ground, Man City. That's what I think makes weird to me. Man City cannot score at this Tottenham ground. It's bizarre. Anyway, listen. Before we wrap up, because I know you've got to head over to Troops, and make sure you do stay tuned, people, because I'm redirecting over to Troops TV because the Back Again podcast will be straight after this. So make sure that you do that. Make sure you go follow This Is Football as well. There's well over 350 of you in here, so make sure that you do that. Listen, Sam. Lastly. My thoughts on Spurs and Ange are very similar to yours. I actually think he's done a good job. I think he surprised people. I think he's come in without Harry Kane and made good signings. I think most of them have been hits. I just think the Spurs fans are the ones for me that are crazy. The Spurs fans for me are absolutely wild. And I said, look, Conte had you in 4th place. This guy's got you in 5th, and you're getting incredibly excited. Just calm down a little bit, right? I love Henry Wright.
They beat Bournemouth and they started singing "We have our Spurs back." What do you have back exactly? What attacking?
Yeah, what
football?
is it back? What back? What? I don't get that right. But listen, I think for me, when I look, because I love Henry Wright, he's one of my favorites, right? But he said to me, "Oh, I think we might have found our Klopp. I think we might have found our Klopp." And I thought, let's just calm down, calm down. I know what he means. He's excited, and I get it, right? But come on, let's just calm down and let him try and win six, because you're not going to win anything this season. They went out of the Carabao Cup to Fulham, right, in a Spursy fashion. They went out of they're going to go out to Manchester City, in my opinion, tomorrow night. They're not going to win the league, and they're not in Europe, so they're going to have no trophy again for another year. So for me, to say Spurs are back without winning a trophy, what back doing what? This is what I don't get. And there's a lot of Spurs fans I respect, right? There's a lot of Spurs fans I absolutely love, good friends with them, a lot of them, right? But some of them, I look at them on this Twitter and I look at them on some of the channels and I think, wow, what is going on? And like Deji is one of them. I love Deji. He's on my channel when he goes on This Is London with me and D Lawless and Don. But I'm like, Deji actually thinks Tottenham can win the league and he thinks they're going to finish above Arsenal. And he's genuinely
Hey,
like,
no, believe in yourself. I can date Rihanna. Fuck it, why not? I'm gonna go to the gym after the Back Again podcast. We'll continue to lift. Maybe one day could become like a, I don't know, like a Gucci underwear model and meet like Rihanna or Beyonce and shit. And I could find, yeah, you should believe in yourself. Why not? I don't have a problem with Spurs fans getting excited. I have a problem with the media kissing Ange's ass all the time because I think that's cringy. Like Gary Neville. Like, why is Gary Neville calling Ange Postecoglou classy? Was Ferguson classy for 30 years? Was Ferguson classy during the Ferguson Wenger era? Was Mourinho classy? There was no. By the way, this is part of Premier League heritage. Having managers who go at each other, having managers who call out referees, shit like. I actually love that. For Ange to go like, oh, it's just. I think all the managers need to get on with it. Yeah, it's easy for you to say when you have been robbed with a red card and with a goal that should have been given. So I just think Ange is extremely cringy, to be honest with you. I think the media reaction to him is cringy, but he's done a good job, as you said. Now, the reason why Spurs won't win, Dan, is not Ange or anyone else. Or I'm not even going to say Spurs DNA. I'm going to be honest. The reason why Spurs won't win anything is Daniel Levy, because he's the common denominator with all the failed managers. And you want the prime example? Look at it right now. Tottenham are not in any FFP problem. And factually speaking, at the start of this month, they were what, like 2-3 points off the top? Why didn't they go and sign Ivan Toney? Why didn't they go and spend money? Why didn't they go? Like, obviously, you're looking at Spurs and you're like, okay, I see Ainge is doing a good job. I see that their players are stepping up. If I add 2 or 3 pieces, you can possibly win the league. And they refuse to spend money. Spurs are the club that, in their best ever era in the Premier League, decided to build a stadium in the time where they should have been focusing on winning something with this group of players. They decided to build a stadium in the worst time possible. You had 25 years of mediocrity to build a stadium. And the one time you have a manager and you have players who are capable of winning the league, you end up building a stadium. And you look at Spurs as well, by the way. If you remember, 18-19 and 19-20, Spurs and Liverpool were in similar categories. It was like we all know City's up here, and these two clubs are racing to kind of get to City's level and see who gets the. Liverpool done 2 or 3 smart signings, Alisson, Van Dijk, etc. And Tottenham Hotspur signed no one for 2 years. And that's why they didn't win anything. So Daniel Levy is the common denominator. That's why they won't be successful. Ange won't be successful. Bro, Mourinho won everywhere except Spurs. Prime Conte came from winning the double with Inter, couldn't win anything. You know that. And Conte's speech, go watch Conte's speech before he gets sacked. He actually spoke facts in that speech as well.
Yeah.
About how the owners and the club and Daniel Levy, blah, blah, blah. He spoke the truth. He spoke the truth that probably even Spurs fans agree with, but they just hated the messenger at the time, so they called him out for it.
Yeah, man, there's a lot you've said there I agree with. I think Daniel Levy's done a lot of good at Spurs in terms of like where he's taken them and where he picked them up. But actually, the lack of ambition there has definitely been to go to that next level. And I think sometimes Spurs fans forget where they were and what Daniel Levy has done to give them Champions League football, put them in that stadium, allowed them to have youth facilities. My question mark has always been, what do you do next? Where do they go next? Are they happy just to get top 4? And it seems like Daniel Levy is. I don't think that's why they'll ever go and win a title. But listen, maybe Deji will put me in the mud. Ange Postecoglou will win the league ahead of Pep, Klopp and Arteta. But, it's one of those, man. It's one of those.